What if a pedophile saved the world? What if somehow the continued survival of our planet and our species rested in the hands of one kitty fiddler, and he came through and nailed it like a toddler, single-handedly averting global disaster? Maybe he was a scientist who found the cure for some deadly epidemic. Maybe he was a soldier who led some kind of mission to stop some nuclear bombs from going off. And this person was allowed to be in this position of impact and importance because nobody knew they were a pedophile. But then, like, right afterwards, they were so overcome with adrenaline and satisfaction that they just didn't want to hide who they were anymore. Imagine somebody saves the world and it's all over the news and they interview him, the now single most beloved man on earth, hero of our time, and they're like, is there anything you want to say to all the people who owe you their lives? And the dude's just like, well, how about I really introduce myself publicly for the first time in my life? My name is Bob, and I love child porn. How, as people, would we respond? I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, how many kids do we give them? When you save the world, you're entitled to some unspecified shit. Your demands get to be met. You receive a blank check. If a pedophile does something ultimately extraordinary to the benefit of all mankind, and he wants a reward, we don't have to think too hard on what he imagines that reward should be. So how many kids? One? A few? He literally just saved billions of children. Billions of parents are profoundly indebted to this dude for his act of undisputed greatness. You can't spare a couple foster kids at least? Kids are his favorite thing. Think about your favorite thing. If you saved the world and all you asked for in return was your favorite thing and the world refused to give it to you, you wouldn't be kind of pissed off about that? You wouldn't be like, oh, this is the thanks I get? Next time use your own proprietary technology to blast a mirror out of space, ungrateful bitches. I'd give him my kid, if I had one, since it was probably an accident anyway, be a load off my shoulders, and then my son gets to be the martyr of recompense. I'd be like, alright son, you're not gonna like what happens in there, but put on a damn good show anyway, because that man has earned it like no one else ever has or ever will. And if you disappoint him, you're gonna spend a weekend at NAMBLA or a Hollywood producer party getting passed around like a doobie. And then I'll make you star in the sequel to Cuties, and you'll be twerking in a Netflix thumbnail for the world to see. People talk about how pedophiles are dregs of society, pariahs, bottom-tier scum, and that's all well and good, but since they're here to stay, I don't think we're utilizing them properly. They could be put to work for the betterment of society, volunteering, like in search parties, for example. Come on, you got a kid missing in the woods? If you want him found quickly, who should you send after him? Family members? Friends? You know the answer. Have a starting line at the entrance to a forest, put like 5 to 10 pedophiles on their marks, fire a gun in the air, watch them run 30 miles an hour into the brush. That kid'll be found by lunchtime, if they ever report back. Give them that incentive. Whoever finds him first, maybe we don't find you right away. Imagine being the lost kid in that scenario. You're starving and dehydrated, haven't seen a soul for 2 days. You're praying to the Lord to please just send someone, anyone, and God's like, oh, you're gonna love Bob. He's very friendly. Handsy, but friendly. Uh-oh, I think he dropped his phone while he was galloping at light speed like a gazelle through the woods. Guess you guys are lost together now. If you can't tell, I really enjoy the idea that if a pedophile chases after a child, he can reach breakneck speeds. If you want the US to get gold in sprinting events in the Olympics, just line up some diddlers, put a kid at the halfway point of the race, have them all start running at the same time. They could lap that kid if they wanted to. I don't care how out of shape they are. They would become the Flash. Like passing 12th place in Mario Kart. It'd be like trying to run from a cheetah with an erection. There's nothing funny about pedophilia, which is why people make jokes, because there's something funny about jokes, and then when the jokes are about pedophilia, by extension, there's something funny about pedophilia in the context of a joke. Like, if I saw a child getting molested, obviously I wouldn't laugh. It would throw off my pelvic rhythm. But when comedy gets involved, it's a good time. I myself am not a pedophile, in case that needs to be said. I don't even like children platonically. I'm not trying to take it to the next level. Who would want to be intimate with a dirty, snot-nosed, booger-eating kid? I can't fathom it. Beyond the specificity, what's it like to have an uncontrollable urge for something you cannot risk acting on? God, what a struggle. Pedophilia is one of the worst received notions in the world. It's got really bad reviews across the board, hated by critics and audiences alike. If you are are outed in that regard, your life is over. You go to jail. Or if you're out of jail, you're exiled, despised, the subject of broad animosity. If a police officer caught someone stabbing you, they'd probably come over and stab you too. Nobody is on your side. Nobody wants to understand you. Nobody has anything but active contempt for your cursed existence. All of that is on the line if you let anyone catch even a slight whiff of what your brain is cooking. It's like biting into an onion. It's repugnant, leaves a lasting impression, and makes people cry. But they still do it because the urge is too strong. I recently started rewatching Dexter, which is a show about a serial killer who kills other murderers. But he's not just some vigilante for the sake of righteousness. He does it because he has a serial killer's urge himself and just channels it into killing bad people, when otherwise he'd just be out murdering whoever. And since the show's main character is a serial killer and you're supposed to not hate him, they do what they can to paint his circumstances in a sympathetic light, and it works. He saw his original family get murdered at a super young and impressionable age, developed a fascination with blood, and environmental factors cultivated a monster within him. And you can look at that and go, oh yeah, I totally get why you got all fucked up over that. I don't like when people complain about shows painting problematic people in a sympathetic light. If you're someone who is like, stop making me sympathize with this person, I don't wanna, they're evil and that's it. Like, please grow a second half of your brain and understand that people don't fit in the narrow one-dimensional boxes you want to put them in. If background information makes people sympathize with someone, it's probably a sympathetic situation, as long as it's not dishonest. If you hear about someone killing someone and you're like, boo, they're a monster, and then someone's like, well, they saw their whole family get murdered when they were 6, and then later on they got raped, and a week after that they were beaten half to death in an alley for some reason. If you hear all that and you're still just like, boo, they're evil, and you don't want that backstory to be told, you're kind of a piece of shit, actually, because you want to erase unimaginable trauma from someone's About Me section so they fit more nicely into your preconceived suppositional conclusion container so you don't have to think too hard, as if it doesn't make a difference. I would be way more condemning of a serial killer whose life was great and just did it out of boredom. That means nothing had to happen to this guy. That's the evil dude right there, not the guy who only became a killer because his brain chemistry got tainted from the get-go by unspeakable events that should never have happened. Yeah, he's messed up, but he's not like demonic. I'd call out a difference. I'm starting to not be able to help but apply this logic to YouTubers and streamers too. A common complaint in YouTuber apology videos is that the apologizer will attempt to garner sympathy for themselves by explaining some of the background behind their personality and choices. Maybe they'll talk about a bad home life, or hard upbringing, or lack of good direction, and everyone sees that and is like, boo, stop distracting us from the issue, nobody cares about your pity party. But like, sometimes it's not irrelevant. Everyone wants to imagine successful people as having always been successful, having always existed as they are now, just popular figures with no past. And then when they try to mention their past in any regard, people are like, shut up, your past doesn't matter. I didn't know you. I can't verify that you were even alive before I subscribed to you. I'm starting to think I actually created you myself. So for you to act as if you've had previous life experiences is really flying in the face of the contextless narrative I'm penning for your immediate future. And even for people who have always had it good, grew up in wealthy families, never wanted for anything, that's also an environment that can shape people negatively, and often does. You're less likely to feel sorry for them because the circumstances look good on paper, but every time a rich kid grows up to be a douchebag, that's the same category as a super disadvantaged kid growing up to join a gang or become a petty criminal. Both kids can transcend those experiences and become better, because obviously not every broken home leads to convenience store robbery, and not every mansion leads to alleged sexual assault. But maybe that particular rich douchebag wouldn't have been a douchebag if he had ever suffered the kind of hardship that builds character. And isn't he also somewhat a product of his environment? People judge from their moral high grounds as if they wouldn't have also grown up to be douchebags in his position. It's like the people who claim they'd have helped the Jews in the Holocaust with no hesitation. They'd have been the heroes who risked it all. Like, nah, you'd have more than likely been a Nazi. Maybe you wouldn't have liked it, but you're clearly not comprehending the looming threat of your entire family being executed. Only narcissists would say some shit like that because they don't care about their family to begin with. They're like, yeah, I mean, my mother no longer speaks to me anyway. Might as well risk her life to look good on Twitter. If I die saving the Jews, I'll be retweeted for generations to come. A legacy is like an extension of your life. As far as being a memory to others, people want to live on in one way or another. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and twitch.tv/sunburnedalbino, and I will see you guys next time.